All right, post session vlog for both horses, December 5th. Today I made a mistake. I made an error in judgment, judgments about what I thought was going to happen externally to me, and therefore it caused me to make a little bit of a mistake with my Butterby horse today. I was like, okay, I'm going to get there early. I'm going to go do Pony Club, or I'm going to beat Pony Club, because Pony Club's been coming out at like 11. Last week, I swear it was 11, or 2 weeks ago it was 11 or 12. And that is true. They have been out there much later. But apparently Pony Club started at 9 today, so I got there at 8:45, and there were people already riding. The place was a friggin' zoo. There was somebody taking a lesson. There was another lesson getting started. There was 2 lessons getting started, multiple lessons getting started, and long and short of it was, and then the other thing that happened, this turned out not to be a big deal, was a horse that lives next to mine got pulled out and got taken somewhere. So, okay, all these things happening, and lots of things all happening at once. Horses were screaming, running around in their pens, all kinds of things. So, first thing, when I see that Betsy's about to get out, I think, okay, I didn't want to get Waves out at the same time Betsy got out. So at the exact same moment, I thought that might be kind of hard. So I waited until Betsy left, and actually my little mare was fine. No worries. At least nothing noticeable. So I was going to go take her for a little walk. I did go take her for a little walk, and she was quite good until, this is like the 11th rabbit, right? She's actually being very good, and I don't think this would have come up for her at all if one thing hadn't kind of set her over the top, which was that there were so many horses, and one horse got unloaded, and it was almost loose. It was dragging the little kid around, and it was screaming its full head off. I thought it was going to get loose, and I had been trying to take her back at that point because I could tell that things were about to implode, and so she got a little animated. I mean, she wasn't terrible bad. She just gets hard to lead when she's like that, because what she wanted to do was go be with the other horse, so she kind of kept trying to push her shoulder into me to be able to leave. So I did eventually. It wasn't too much of a struggle to get her back. She wasn't terrible. She didn't explode. I have to give her that. Some horses would have exploded in that. And then she did have the I guess she did kind of trot forward. She leapt forward when we left the arena, because I've been walking in the arena. But I knew that was going to happen because she was facing directly towards the horse that was screaming and running around, and I had to go towards the horse instead of away from the horse to just get back to her stall. And so that she really wanted to go to the other horse, so she was like, screw you, I'm going to the other horse. And I mean, keep in mind, all the horses are running around at this point. So I learned a lesson there, which was don't take that shit for granted, because and I couldn't turn her out because it was another horse, and the turnout and that horse was losing it even more than my horse was. My horse was making that horse look calm. So point being, my horse was not the only one falling apart. I just accidentally put myself in a bad situation. Now, had I known that trailer was going to show up and then the horses were going to get out and flip the fuck out, I would have never brought her into that situation. I'm the idiot who put her into too deep into the pool. I should have waited to see how things were going to go. I just didn't predict that was going to happen, although realistically I realize, even as I'm saying that, it's Pony Club and I should expect it to get worse, not better. They're always like that. Today again, a horse got loose. There's almost every time Pony Club is there, a horse gets loose. The good news was, and then of course I had to walk her by Iceman, so then she was actually quite good considering how Iceman was being, and that she's a yearling. She was very good. She didn't love it, but she was being good. So I did get her to walk back to her pin. And then I got her to settle. I actually got her to settle before she got back to her pin, which was good. Once I got her to let go of that other horse, she was actually okay, even when Iceman was being a pest. But Iceman was all stirred up too, see? So it's just something she's got to work on. So I did get her to settle. I let her loose because I was like, this is the time to finish this. Oh, and I did, before I let her loose, I actually took her back out and walked her around one more lap, just to make sure. I didn't go all the way out to where the screaming horse was. But then I went and did some other things, fast forward, and I was able to come back to her an hour or two later, and I did take her for a short walk, at least back to the front of the arena and around. She was still looking. It was interesting because there's a bunch of horses and ponies in the arena, and she wasn't really interested in that. She was a little interested in the dog. She actually really wants to go after dogs. She would like to bite the dog, kick the dog, chase the dog, which is I think a little bit playful on her part and a little bit cowy on her part. So that's going to be interesting. And I realize now this is not the first. I saw her do this last week too, where I knew it was something about the dog. Now I know it's the dog. I think that the dog is a trigger because she either wants to play with it. Well, probably it's the same thing in her head. So she kind of to go after the dog a little bit. So all that means, so I did take her back for a little walk, and I felt like I handled it a lot better the second time. Things were quieter. She was in a better frame of mind, and so I put her away in a much better frame of mind. And I think it was just a lesson for me in that I put her in too deep, and that was my fault. I should have, I'm not quite sure what I should have done, because you can't be so careful you never get anything done. I mean, I should have just not come out when Pony Club was there, and that's a hard thing to manage there. So I just made a mistake, and I do have like this worry. I've been thinking about this for hours now. I have this worry that she's gonna develop all that into a habit. And one thing I gotta remember is that Wyatt used to be almost that bad. Well, Wyatt used to be worse, but he was easier to lead because he had more manners. And Wyatt is so much different now. That this is a yearling. She's probably never seen anything like what happened today in her entire life. And it got to her a little bit. But you know what? The flip side of that is when Pony Club was out in the arena and she was listening to them whoop and holler and all kinds of random shit, she was fine. And the second time I got her out, there was other shit going on and she was fine. So she's a yearling. I got to put that into perspective. And having one bad day where we had to kind of like quickly go back to our pen isn't going to be that's not going to be what ruins her. I don't even think it was a barn sour issue. I went back to the pen because it was easier to manage over there, but it was more of an issue of not wanting to let go of another horse that doesn't even live there. So, and I do have to say, I have seen her do something like this in smaller amounts previously, and once she worked through it, she was a lot better on the other side, and I've only had her for, 2 weeks, so we'll see. The other thing I wanted to say real quick before I have to turn off my camera is Wyatt was a rock star today. So I really needed him to be a rock star today because he reminded me that that he's been at this 2.5 years, and today Wyatt was one of the calmer horses there. Wyatt got a little bit, I can't even remember what it was that spooked the horses. They all got spooked at one point. Almost every horse on the property except for Poncho. And they went running around, and then he immediately calmed down. And by the time I got to get him out, there was all kinds of weird shit happening, and things that a pony that would have used to have just caused him to come undone. And he looked at the pony, but he wasn't even worried about it. There were kids all trotting around the pony. The pony was trotting by the brown pen. He was so good, and he was so connected to me and light, and everything felt nice and light and good between us. I took him on a very short walk afterward, and he was not worried. So I just need to, Wyatt was a gift today, in that he reminded me that she's going to be like that too. It's just that she's 1.5 years old, and I did get her in a little too deep today on accident. I couldn't have predicted that horse was going to show up and shove her over. She would have been okay if those extra couple things hadn't happened. And I didn't have a lot of other options. There was the other problem. So, I guess I could have just not gotten her out. But it didn't, again, if I had known that it was going to go the way it was going to go, I would have not gotten her out. So, anyway, he really helped me put this into perspective of how hard he's had so much worse days than that. And he's so much better now. And she's so much at the beginning of this journey compared to where he was. And she's going to make all those same changes too. It's just hard to see it when you're only 2 weeks into it, whereas he's 2.5 years into it. And it was so nice to see him also so centered and grounded in himself in things that previously would have just sent him through the roof, and to have just a nice 45-minute session with him where he wasn't too worried about things. It was really cool. That part was really cool.